Hi folks, so today's lesson is for the National 5 Hospitality class, and today we're focusing on our practical skills. We're going to be making a hummus and crudities. So I'm sure we all know what hummus is, but the crudities is a specific cut of vegetable that you would use to dip into your hummus. Okay, few things that you need to focus on for this lesson is, because this is the very first practical lesson that you're going to be doing, the important things to focus on are your safety and your hygiene. So hygiene first, I've washed my hands and I've removed all jewellery. Okay, safety is we're working with knives and we're working with the electrical equipment there as well. So we are upskilling you in using the correct equipment for the job and showing you how to use the equipment to get professional cuts of veg. Okay, so the first thing we're going to work on is our hummus dip. So for our hummus, the ingredients that we're going to need for that is half a tin of your chickpeas. Okay, I've drained this, so I've poured them through the sieve, collected the liquid and got rid of any residue. I've given that a wee rinse under the tap as well. 2 tablespoons of your olive oil, 1 tablespoon of Greek yoghurt. I've got my salt and pepper here as well. I've gone for the Himalayan salt. And then your choice of either chilli powder or cayenne pepper. I've gone for a pinch of cayenne pepper. For that, I've used my measuring spoons here. Okay, I've got my dessert spoon, or my tablespoon, sorry, to measure in my yoghurt and my oil, and then my tiny little measuring spoon, which is probably about 1.25 spoon for your pinch. Okay, you're also going to need 1 clove of garlic and half a lemon. The rest of these we're going to use for our crudities. Okay, let's get started. So into the bowl I've put my chickpeas. I'm going to now prepare my garlic clove. Okay, so the garlic clove needs to be skinned. So I'm going to use my vegetable knife for this. The smaller the knife, the more control you have. I wouldn't pick up my chef's knife to work with something so small. So on the flat surface, I'm going to cut off the tip and the base of the root. Now ideally, if we were in the classroom, then you would have a paper towel at the side so that all of your scraps can go into the paper towel. I'm just going to put them there on my plate. I want to keep a nice tidy work surface here. Okay, I'm then going to roughly chop my garlic. This is all going to be pureed in with the chickpeas using the blender, so it really doesn't matter how small or chunky you cut these. Okay, that can go in there. My lemon juice. Now I'm going to use my juicer. Yours might not particularly look like that, but you are going to squeeze in the whole lemon, the whole half lemon, sorry, into the bowl. Okay, and again scraps to the side. Then tip in your olive oil. I'm going to leave a small dribble just for a garnish at the end, and I'm going to scoop in my yoghurt. My seasoning can go in. Now in hospitality, at the end of your exam, you are assessed on have you tasted and seasoned. So don't just season and then forget to taste at the end, because you need to know, have you seasoned it correctly? Do you need to adjust that any further? Okay, and again, my pinch of cayenne pepper can go in as well. So there we go. Okay, before we get started with using the electrical appliance, there's a few safety things that you need to be aware of. Again, these types of things can come up in your exam question paper, talking about safety elements, so you should be taking notes on this. This is an electrical appliance, it's plugged in, therefore when it comes to washing it, you need to make sure that you've switched it off and removed it from the plug source. This is an electric blade, so you keep your fingers well away from the blade. Make sure once it's been unplugged, you're going to give that a good clean afterwards. Okay, you do not turn it on until it's fully submerged into the foods as well, otherwise it will spray everywhere. Right, I'm just going to pulse that now. Okay, it's up to you how chunky you like your hummus. I don't like mine particularly chunky, so I've blitzed that quite thoroughly. You can see how messy the inside of that gets. So I've removed it, unplugged it, and that can go now to the sink for washing. Alright, that's your hummus finished. You don't need to do anything else to that except for serve it, which we'll do once I've shown you the vegetable cuts. Okay? Right guys, we're going to do the crudities now, and we are working with, what I've chosen for you is a celery, a cucumber, a pepper, and I've also thrown in a carrot there as well, which you might not find in your recipe when you look at that on the files. So straightforward, we're just making these into batons. When it comes to the celery, you are going to need to wash everything first, okay? And then you're going to take your small knife and cut down the length of the celery. This is probably the easiest vegetable I've chosen for you first to start off with. Cut off the root, so that's where it's from the white up to where it starts to turn green, and then again you can cut off the tip. Now I would say we could probably cut that down a little thinner, so I'm going to do the same again, just run the knife down the centre of the celery stick. Very careful keeping your fingers away from the blade because you don't want to have an accident. Okay, now a baton is about 5 centimetres long, and what we're watching for when it comes to your National 5 exam is uniformity, making sure that everything is the same size across the board. So for a baton we're looking for 5 centimetres. That's probably about 3 fingers width for you, okay? So measure that roughly and cut them. You could then use one of those cuts as your gauge for the rest of them to make sure they're all the same. Now you can see I've got a little bit extra here, so I don't want that. I don't want longer ones than the rest. So that means this is all waste. Okay, that can go to the side for scraps. Okay, next cut that's probably the simplest is your cucumber. So again, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut. Now a cucumber rolls, it's got no flat edges. So the first thing I need to do is cut it in half lengthways. So we now have 2 flat surfaces so it doesn't roll. I can now cut in my batons, and I want them to be about 1 centimetre thick. So centimetre long strips down the length of your cucumber. Okay, again, we want this to measure the 5 centimetre baton, so I'm going to use a bit of celery there that I cut before and cut off the excess. Don't want that now. Remove that to your waste pile. And then we want to cut these into centimetre strips as well. So you will find this is a bit wasteful. Don't worry, the key is accuracy in the size that you're cutting. And it's worth taking your time to get that right. That's probably a bit too small, so I'm just going to remove that. Okay, and that's our cucumber done. The pepper's a little bit trickier, again, because it's very round and it's going to wobble about. But we also want to remove these curved edges from our baton. So the way I suggest we cut this is I'm going to use my chef's knife, and I'm going to remove the whole top crown of the pepper. Okay, and I'll do the same for the bottom edge. Remove all of those curved edges of the bottom of my pepper. Okay, I'm then going to cut that in half. And then I can use my vegetable knife to just curve around the edges and remove the core of your pepper. Tidy my chopping board. And do the same for the other side. Now this leaves us with a flatter area to work with. You Again, I want to make sure that it is the 5 centimetres. Okay, so that's slightly shorter, but that was determined by the size of my pepper. Okay, and now I'm going to cut exactly the same size of batons right the way around the length of that pepper. If in an exam you didn't cut off those rounded edges, you would lose your marks for batoning. So it's important that you get into the habit of removing all the curved edges. Okay. Right, I thought I would show you how to baton a carrot as well, because that can be really tricky and you will find it's quite wasteful also. So the first thing I've done is I've peeled the skin off the carrot. Then I'm going to remove the tail and the top. I'm then going to cut it into more manageable size chunks. So I'm looking for my 5 centimetre gauge. I'll use a wee strip of my leftover. So 5 centimetre lengths of carrot. Then what we need to do, this bit particularly is quite dangerous and tricky because we're using a sharp knife and the carrot rolls and we're not cutting right through the centre. What I want to do is cut off just the rounded edge. So I'm holding on quite firmly and keeping my fingers well back from the knife. Okay, so cut off the rounded edge of my carrot, and now I've got a flat surface to work with. So now I'm going to come around the other side and do the same. Remove just the rounded edge, so that what we're doing is we're creating an oblong rectangular shape. Let's see, I've missed a few bits there. Okay, now I can cut that into centimetre long strips. And cut these in again into centimetre lengths. So when you go to the shops and you buy a bag of carrot sticks, that's how they look. Okay, but you need to learn how to do that yourself. So it's a case of peeling the skin, removing the rounded edges, cutting it into your 5 centimetre lengths, and squaring off your carrot, cutting it into your baton sticks. You could go smaller and turn these into matchsticks. Okay, so that again, very, very carefully, you would go even thinner, looking for about 1/2 centimetre. Okay, or if you're asked to dice, then you go through all of these processes and then you cut them into squares. Okay, so here I've shown you how to square off your carrot, how to cut batons, how to cut matchsticks, and how to cut dices. Okay, so in front of you now you can see you've got your batons of pepper, celery, cucumber, and carrot. I'm now going to serve my hummus into my serving dish, so very neatly serve that into your serving dish. Try not to spill around the sides. If you do, then make sure you wipe around the edges. And then just to finish with my garnish, I'm going to drizzle over a little leftover olive oil. And sprinkle over some more cayenne pepper. Okay, that just enhances the colour and the flavour. I want to show you one last garnish trick. Okay, because again, in your exam, you will be asked to garnish. So what I've done here is I've sliced off a thin slice of my lemon. I'm going to take my vegetable knife, I'm going to slice up to the centre, and then simply you're just going to twist the lemon. Okay, and that would be how you would decorate your dish. Okay, and there you go, guys. That is your hummus and crudities all set, ready for you to have a go at yourself. Okay, remember to leave a comment below, like and subscribe so you can catch up with all the other videos that we'll be posting. Okay, thanks very much, guys. Take care.